Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right in with a pretty massive question. Are we finally witnessing the end of the era of heavy, bloated client-side frameworks? Because, for years now, the gold standard in web development has been to just push as much processing as possible straight to the user's browser. But today, we're diving into a really fascinating framework that is completely challenging that status quo.
If you've been working in or even just following web development over the past decade, you definitely know about the pendulum swing. Tech rarely moves in a straight line, right? It swings back and forth. And for a long time, that pendulum was swung entirely towards client-side rendering. But right now, we are seeing it swing hard back toward the server. And the cool part is, it's bringing some incredible modern tools along for the ride.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the web development pendulum, introduce the Remix framework, explore the server-first advantage, look at elevating user experience, weigh the trade-offs and challenges, and finally wrap up with the future of full stack. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The web development pendulum, understanding the shift.
To really get this, let's compare two totally different eras. On the left, we've got the old way, traditional server-side rendering. Back in the day, the server literally did all the heavy lifting. Every single time you clicked a link, the server generated a brand new page and sent it over. It was reliable, sure, but it could feel a little clunky. Then came the era on the right, the complete shift toward client-side rendering, or CSR. We started shipping these massive bundles of JavaScript down to the browser, basically making the user's device do all the hard work to render the UI. And yeah, this gave us incredibly rich app-like experiences, but it also led to massive load times and frustrated users just staring at a screen waiting for data to populate.
Which brings us to Section 2, enter the Remix framework server-first approach.
Let's define exactly what we're talking about here. Remix is a modern web framework built on React that emphasizes a seamless development experience by focusing on a server-first approach. Now notice that it says built on React. This is absolutely vital because Remix isn't forcing you to abandon the modern UI tools you already know and love. Instead, it takes the best parts of React and fundamentally shifts where the bulk of the work happens. It prioritizes the server over the client.
This quote from the source material captures the essence of Remix perfectly. It isn't a regression to the early 2000s web, it's a fresh perspective. It takes the rock-solid reliability and speed of old-school server rendering and merges it flawlessly with the highly interactive, dynamic user interfaces we all expect today. Let's move on to Section 3, the server-first advantage. Philosophy matters.
So the core of Remix is server-side rendering, or SSR. Think about it like this. Client-side rendering is basically like getting a box of raw ingredients delivered to your house that you have to assemble and cook in your own kitchen, your browser in this case. SSR, on the other hand, is like ordering a fully baked, ready-to-eat pizza. Instead of shipping a massive JavaScript bundle to the client and forcing the browser to hydrate and build the UI from scratch, Remix does all that heavy computing up front. The server generates the HTML, so the user gets a fully interactive experience right out of the gate.
Let's break down how Remix actually pulls off this data fetching magic. Step 1. It loads the data efficiently right there on the server, super close to your database. Step 2. It passes that data to the client, neatly packaged as JSON. And Step 3. It delivers a fully rendered interactive page. So the crucial point here is that this drastically reduces the need for the user's browser to make a bunch of extra API calls just to figure out what to display. Your page loads significantly faster because the heavy data lifting is already done.
When we put these approaches head-to-head, the value proposition is just obvious. In terms of performance, traditional CSR often struggles with a much slower time to interactive because the browser is just busy executing JavaScript. Remix SSR provides way faster load times. For SEO, CSR has historically been a nightmare for search engine crawlers. They just see a blank page. Actually, scratch that. They see a page waiting for JavaScript to run, which is basically the same problem. Remix SSR, however, serves up fully rendered HTML, which search engines absolutely love. And finally, looking at complexity, CSR forces you to juggle a highly complex state in the client's browser. Remix lets you manage that data on the server, giving you far cleaner, more maintainable code.
Section 4. Elevating user experience, instant responses.
Keeping users engaged with instantaneous responses is absolutely critical today. I mean, nobody wants to sit there watching a spinning loading wheel, right? Remix directly upgrades the user experience in 3 huge ways. First, faster load times. Because the page is rendered on the server, interaction is almost immediate. Second, smoother navigation. You get seamless movement between pages without those annoying client-side data fetching delays. And third, accessible content.
The content is immediately visible not just to visually impaired users relying on screen readers, but also to search engines.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is the reality check. Section 5, Trade-offs and Challenges, Objective Limits.
Because let's be totally honest with each other. In technology, there is literally no such thing as a silver bullet. While Remix offers massive advantages, this server-first approach does introduce a very specific set of infrastructure demands that you just cannot ignore. Here is the reality check. By shifting the workload away from the user's browser, where exactly does that work go? It goes straight back to your servers. This introduces additional server load, which can increase complexity, especially if you're building massive, large-scale applications with unpredictable traffic spikes. It absolutely requires a careful evaluation of your existing server capabilities. If you're building a small app and you're running on highly limited, cheap server resources, this might not be the right architecture for you. You have to ensure your infrastructure actually has the compute power to handle that increased server-side load. Let's move to our final section and see how this builds toward the long-term success of web development. Section 6, the future of full stack.
For Remix to not just be a passing trend, but a foundational tool of the future, it has to hit a few key milestones. Widespread community adoption is number one. Open source tools live and die by their community. Next is its seamless integration with existing React apps, which, to be fair, is already a huge selling point. But looking forward, it must successfully adapt to modern hosting setups, specifically serverless architectures. And finally, integrating with emerging tech like progressive web apps, or PWAs, is going to be vital to make sure Remix remains flexible enough for whatever the future web looks like.
This source material leaves us with this really powerful summarizing thought. As the community grows and adoption increases, Remix could very well shape the future of web development. It isn't just about rendering pages, it's about fundamentally rethinking how we balance the workload between the server and the user to create the absolute best experience possible.
So the ultimate question remains, will Remix power your next web project? Whether you're a developer planning your next architecture or a business owner looking to optimize your site's SEO and load times, this server-first approach is definitely worth your attention. Evaluate your infrastructure, weigh those trade-offs, and see if this framework is the tool that's going to pull your projects into the future. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.